Okay, a warm welcome everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Sunday Pathshala. And as it's customary, let us begin with our short introduction, 5 minutes. This initiative is called Together for We, and the whole idea here is to help people manifest we consciousness on earth. What we mean by we consciousness is realizing the fact that individuals are not individual entities, but it is a group consciousness which is called humanity, and we need to coexist on this world with other species and with amongst ourselves as one human community. Most of us understand this concept. We talk about it, but we do not have enough systems to be able to establish this or manifest this. So this is a very field kind of a project where we are trying to get people who are goodness campaigners, who have some goodness in their heart, whatever it may be. It may be maybe they want to spread some spiritual goodness, or they want to protect the environment, they want to protect the animals, they want to empower women, they want to remove poverty. It doesn't matter. All such budding goodness campaigners, we want to support them in three ways. We want to make them empowered learners. We want to make them win-win earners and continuously evolved givers. So this platform is, of course, a recent start, and we have miles to go before we sleep. But the whole idea is individuals who start off, they may be young, maybe you may be in 40s, 50s, 60s, doesn't matter. But this aspiration to do something good, and you need some support, and you want to put some, you want to take the next step. But you find yourself disempowered. You find yourself you have some issues. It could be that there are some learning gaps, there are some confidence gaps, there are certain knowledge gaps. Maybe you do not have extra finance to be to put into your goodness campaigns, or maybe the art of giving. What is giving is not understood properly, and the giving itself becomes a base, a foundation for your own growth, for your own selfishness. Growth as in you're trying to promote your own self in the giving process. You're not really giving, and therefore that giving and the goodness campaign really doesn't take the colors. We have to build in that selflessness construct into the whole idea, which happens slowly. Many people are not aware of this, and the awareness itself is a problem. So for some of you who may not know me, or you may be watching this video for the first time, my name is Vishal Ganeriwal. And I am looking forward to take the vision or the teachings of my spiritual guide, Shri Kamlesh D. Patel, forward. Shri Kamlesh D. Patel, also known as Daji, is the global guide of the Heartfulness Institute. And this initiative is actually an inspiration from him. What he normally says is, the evil people of the world, the selfish people of the world, people who want to exploit others tend to come together. There is unity among them. But when it comes to goodness campaigners, we are not able to combine with each other. We are not able to unite with each other. We are not able to support each other. So taking a cue from that, I said, let's try to do this. And hopefully with time, this will become a great avalanche, and it will become a great support system to all goodness campaigners of the world. So the three objectives are, the first objective is learning that empowers goodness. You can read this slide. I will not go in step by step. The whole idea is knowledge gaps in the, that the knowledge that the goodness campaigners suffer from. We want to fulfill that as far as possible. Free information, sometimes paid. The second objective is to make money in a win-win way, in an honest way, in a way that helps you, helps the world, and in a it's a sustainable way. And understanding that money is not evil. Money is needed for a lot of things, especially if you want to do goodness campaigns. So let's not be money shy. We hope with time we will be able to make a win-win ecosystem, which will help noble causes of the world make money through our transactions here, without them having to resort to donations. Donations is good. It will always stay, but is it possible to create another pillar of support for noble causes? That is something that we want to explore here. And the whole idea of giving, when we give there is an art of giving, as I spoke earlier, and that the channels within us need to open up so that our goodness campaigns go forward. We will discuss these aspects, these secrets, that how when you give with the right attitude, your campaign gets a thrust. So this is a bit about me. Again, you can read at your leisure. I am growing with my work and my campaign. I was traditionally from the textile and garmenting industry, and that is still a part for portfolio of what I do. But after 24 years of working, learning, and experience, I am giving more thrust to my training and business start coaching. I am also now a digital growth partner. I understand digital technology very well now. And if you're looking to add digital wings to your business, you can always check with me. At the base of all this, I am a vision unlocker. I have found within myself that there is, I'm very honest with my approach, and I have a very positive approach to things, and I have an unlocking effect on people's vision. So if you wish to make use of these assets of mine, you can reach out to me. And not everything is money, we can discuss. As long as you have a goodness campaign in heart, you want to take things forward, I am there. So what we have covered so far, all of you who are a part of the Together for We campaign, earlier known as the Heartful Learners Academy, we are going step by step. Initially, we had done random topics. Now, from a cutoff date, we have covered visions, we have covered mission goals and milestones. We have covered self-love, self-esteem, and self-confidence. So very important. In one of the sessions, we covered the basic ingredients of effective communication. And a very important topic of the power of thinking, James Allen, you become what you think, as a man think it. We covered those concepts. Today, we are going to talk about how to get done more in less time, the 5 secrets. Right at the beginning, I assure you, this is an extremely integrated topic, and I hope all of you will, enjoy your session today and find it extremely useful. So, just to give a context before we start, that this is where we are in terms of we have discussed this, that when you plan for effectiveness, you have to begin with the vision, mission, then come to your goals, and then come to your milestones. But when you act, you do the reverse thing. You begin with your milestones, your goals, your mission, and then you finally reach your vision. So this is a very important construct. Whatever we are doing here in the Together for We initiative in terms of empowering the learning of people, this is our bedrock. If you don't have a vision, mission, goals, and milestones in place, then you're going to be chasing in round circles. You have to have that in place, and once you have that in place, then just pin it up on the wall and stop thinking about it and start working on your milestones to achieve your goals, goals to achieve your mission, and mission to achieve your vision. Okay. So now, what are the 5 secrets of doing more in less time? So one of the secrets that the 5 secrets that I want to talk about, it's not that these are the 5 only things that can help you, but this is 80% of it. There will always be this odd thing and that thing, and this can help you and that can help you. But after 24 years of my own life, practical life, in working, learnings, readings, this is, and I have been a meditator, and I'm a meditation trainer. This is what I really believe. This takes care of 80% of the problem. Why some people are able to get so much done in less time, and there are so many people who are can do very little in that same given time. So let us begin one by one. It's an integrated look at this whole thing in a very integrated way. We'll begin with certain things. Some of the things you may know, they may be basics, but it's good to look at it again in an integrated way so that the whole connection is there. So at the bottom of all this, is clarity of tasks. Okay. Remember, all this is all useless unless you have your vision map in place and you have that running and kicking. Without that, all this won't happen. So please don't forget the first slide, which is so very important. Clarity on tasks that need to be done. So how many of you all maintain a task sheet? Which is what I mean to say is that before you go to sleep today, you know what you're going to do tomorrow. Forget day after day. At least tomorrow is clear. So how many of you do that? If you do that, press 1 in your chat box. Let's see how many do this. That before you sleep today, your next day's tasks are clear. Anyone who does this? Till very recently, I was not doing it. I myself have discovered the beauty of it as I have started using it, and therefore, see, it's not so common. This is, just challenge yourself that next 5 days you will do this. Just talk to yourself right now that you're going to do this, that before you sleep today, you're going to write what you're going to do tomorrow. Absolutely right. Okay. Any format is okay. This is just one format that you can do. It's very simple. You can use a Google Task app. How many of you are aware of Google Task? Can you put 2 in your chat box if you know what is a Google Task app? If anybody has used it or is aware what is the Google Task app? Okay. Cool. So I will put a small video about Google Task app in our learning group so that people know what this is and how it works. But you don't have to get digital everywhere. If you have a diary, if you have a paper pen, you can use that. That's not a problem. But Google Task is really a good application, and it integrates well with your Google Calendar also. So one thing that many people who talk upon production efficiency say that clarity brings efficiency. If the next morning you get up and by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you're deciding what you have to do, you already lost 2-3 hours. Isn't it? Just reflect. I'm taking a 30-second pause. Just look at it. How many of us suffer from this? When you get up the next day, we start planning and we start numbling and we start moving here and there. And at least 2 hours is lost, just not knowing what to do. Those who are in a routine job, they will have this bus to catch and this train to catch, and they'll reach there. Maybe they are blessed with this routine. So the impact of a task calendar would be slightly lower. But imagine if you know what you want to do if you get into your office. The moment you get into your office and if you know what you have to do. And if you jump into your office and you're still sitting and thinking, aaj kya karna hai, that is, so that's one approach. So try this out. I will not be spending a lot of time, but on this, except for this one point, that clarity brings efficiency. If you're making notes, this is the takeaway from this slide. Clarity brings efficiency. If you're not clear, you're going to lose time. Now, this is something beautiful. There was some talk that people say that to-do lists are not necessary, calendars are enough. But my own journey in life so far tells me both are necessary. You need a to-do list and you need a weekly calendar. There is a very highly reputed suggestion that you should be knowing your 7 days in advance. You do not step out on a Sunday unless the next Monday to Sunday is planned. You stay at home. You make this suggestion to yourself that I will plan the next 7 days. Now, what does this mean? I have been trying and I failed many times. And to be very frank, I am a student of this principle myself, and I'm learning and refining. But these suggestions are coming from one of the best time managers, from whose videos I have watched, I've undergone training, and this is what they have to say. You must have slots in your day and across the week that balance, everything that you need: your meditation, your health, your wealth, your self-development, your relationship, social media, entertainment. All these things have to be balanced in a weekly calendar. If you see this weekly calendar, which is actually from Google Calendar, you will see that each color has been given to a type of activity. This is just a representative one. And I give credit of this to Mr. Sanjeev Jain, who was I attended one of his programs, and this is actually a screenshot that I borrowed from him. So this is, the blues are something, the greens are something, the orange is something. So what you can do is that, you put slots, that I will put 2 hours for this, 4 hours for this, 6 hours for this. And it is very important that you balance. You may give 1 hour for your health, 45 minutes for your meditation. You may give 1 hour quality time for friends and family, quality time. Then maybe 45 minutes for social media, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. Maybe entertainment you can have twice a week or once a week, whatever is your preference, so that your week is kind of balanced, and there is time for everything. Now, what do you fill up in the slot? Now, that comes from your to-do sheet. For example, if you have a money-making slot of 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day, whatever your case may be, or you're an employee and you need to put in tasks. So what are you going to put in? You're going to put in things that are going to come from your tasks. Okay, but these slots have to be marked, or the slots may not be full. So this is where I found a difference from the trainer. He said this. He didn't really talk about it in these terms, but when I applied it to my own practical life, it's not practical for most of us to plan exact what I'm going to do at 9:45 2 days from now. I think that's bonkers. But at least you can plan that every day 9:30 to 12:30 is my slot for this. And then when you reach that slot, one day before, you can put activities over there. At least that can be done. So a combination of the calendar and the schedule is very, very important. Now, what happens here is that if you misfire a slot, for example, you have lost 9:30 to 12:30, the rest of the day you don't have to misfire. You can hold back the day. You can look at the slots and look at it, or you can move the slots down. That I missed this, now I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do this. There's a certain amount of control. But if the calendar is not there, and if you have a bad start to the day, that effect kind of can spoil the whole day. Sometimes you can spoil a whole day, but it's not necessarily the whole week has to go. So this calendar, if it is in place, you know that, okay, if I achieve this calendar 80% initially, it's great. You may not get 100%, but if you achieved it 80%, it's just great. So plan time for interruptions. Now, this is a great suggestion that came from Mr. Sanjeev. He said, and this is also I picked up from some of the other books that I've been reading on productivity, that, there's something known as deep work. We need to work in slots of 1 hour to 2 hours, minimum 2 hours, they say, to get real productive work done. And during that slot of 2 hours, don't get disturbed by telephone calls. Do not get disturbed by, messages. Yeah, of course, you can tell me, what if my job is a telephone operator? Then that is your work. What if I am, what if I am supposed to make sales calls? Yeah, that's your work. Then those are exceptions. But in general, do not let yourself get disrupted by calls and urgent messages, etc. during those 2 hours. Put buffers that every 2 hours I'll look at my mobile for 20 minutes. I'll take a call, or I will look at the missed call and call back, or apply to a message. And also, can we put certain buffers? See, the buffer itself is a great plan to have during the day. 1 hour buffer, 2 hour buffer, something which is unplanned. Like I found this very useful. When people ask me, when should I call, I now just tell them 1:30, because or 2:30, based on my lunch time. I know that is my open time. If there's no call, I'll do something. Otherwise, I'll take a call. Otherwise, if it's an unplanned call or people just call, I normally have stopped taking them. The phone is meant for me, or I am supposed, I'm meant for the phone, or phone is meant for me. If I keep taking every call every time, then I'm letting the world drive my agenda. So this calendar is extremely great takeaway from today's thing. And now I will just pause, and I will ask all of you to ask me some questions. We have covered 2 important concepts, or 3 important concepts actually, and I want you to shoot questions and digest this for a while and ask questions. Go ahead. Yes? Who's shooting first? You're all clear. Should we proceed?
Okay. I have a question, sir.
Yes, Himani.
My question is, like, when we prepare the to-do list on a daily basis, um, while doing so, it is also important that we need to set a priority, high priority, low priority, and the four slots that we have. So that will help us in having an effective to-do list, and that can further help us in maintaining a good calendar and thereby planning further. So if you could kindly explore on the four areas which are very, very important in the completion of to-do list on a daily basis, that would be a great help.
Mani, your answer is on the screen. That's the next thing that is going to come. First thing first. So I just
Oh,
stopped.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
So that's good.
I'm
That's
so
a very relevant question. So as I said,
okay.
the 5 secrets: clarity on tasks, balance schedule. First thing first is the priority thing, then energy management, and then deciding right. So we have just finished balance schedule so far, and we will talk about priorities and first thing first. Thank you, Imani, for your question. Okay. Is
Thank you.
is Sajanan there? He had joined us. Let's get Sajanan's view. Sajanan, how practical you think this is? I mean, what's your view?
No, I like this idea. Clarity brings efficiency. And in fact, I was just wondering, can you see me?
Yes, and 1 minute, Sajanan. One. Yes, Sajanan, go ahead. Thanks.
Yeah, am I audible?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this idea. This to-do list or the task list is we always started somewhere in life, but somewhere we started, then we leave it, then somehow we don't sustain it. And this happens off and on. But the whole idea is how to motivate yourself to push on, to continue, and most importantly, to sustain. So I like this idea which you brought. Clarity brings in efficiency. You need to. I know. What you said is right. I was just wondering, how to bring it into a sustainable thing. And one thing I like this idea which you said. Why don't we make a calendar for at least 5 days? I know at the start of the week it's a tough task, uh, but yes, let us do it. Let us begin it. So, okay, I'm just learning by going. In fact, I'm writing down the points which you're saying. Whatever is registering. I'm having a book which I rarely do, but I have begun it.
Sajanan, did you pick up the point that when you plan the calendar for the next 7 days, every activity within the slot doesn't have to be filled up? It's not practical. I tried, it doesn't work. None of us are so
I
busy
understand.
but the slots have to be in place. 9:30 to 12:30 is this, 12:30 to 2 is this, then so that you know at that time what I have to do. And you have to put in those activities one day before. That is why I suggest as a practical doable thing.
So I'm just picking up points. And in fact, I don't have questions right now. In fact, this is something which I had done long time back, but never sustained it. So I'm picking up points which will motivate me or inspire myself to sustain this.
Great. So Vivek, I would like to hear if you're there. Vivek, are you there? You are a very successful architect. Why don't you give your views on the presentation so far, the practical part of it? If you are there, Vivek, are you there?
Yeah, Vishal, I'm here. Sure, I'm just going to.
Why don't you share your perspective, Vivek?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Vivek.
Yeah, so again, that's what I like about your lecture. So even though there's a great amount of clarity and of concepts that you bring, so even though I do this every evening, I need to chalk out the task that I want to do and give to the staff and the drawings and emails to be sent. But I actually do that only for the next day. So that's what I like about you. You like pushing people, I think. So I'm going to try planning the next 7 days. And I can do that for a day or two, but 7 days, and I'm sure once I start doing that, I may have more relevant questions for you. But that's a big takeaway for me as of right now. And we are just 30 minutes into the talk. So let's see. Yeah.
Vivek, 7 days for a person at your stature should be the mantra. Your efficiency will be double. I mean, I actually want the feedback from you after 15, 20 days that you pushed it for 7 days. And what was the impact on efficiency? And let it be a very balanced, I'm just repeating myself. Let the 7 days be very balanced, covering all aspects of your life.
Right. No, lovely. Okay. It's a great takeaway, Vishal. I'm going to try that. Yeah.
Great. So let's move ahead, and we will again take a pause a little ahead. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So, guys, now let's say a big thank you to Stephen Covey here. If you've read this famous book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, please put 3 in your chat box. So I know that if you've read this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by author Stephen Covey. Okay, somebody's read it. All right, let's see who said he's read. Okay, why it's not coming. All right. So this is what this is one of the beautiful models of that book. He calls it the 4-quadrant model. I give credit to Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, for this model, and I have borrowed it from there. Okay. So this, I am just calling it first thing first, but credit goes to Stephen Covey. So there he talks about 4 quadrants. Now let me explain this one by one so that it's very, very clear. See, on the top you have important, that is the y-axis. That on the top you have important, and the bottom you have not important. On the x-axis, on the left side you have urgent, and on the right side you have not urgent. Okay. So now this divides it into 4. So what this gives us typically is quadrant 1 with activities which are urgent and important. So these are activities you cannot but not do. You have to do them. For example, if your most important client calls up on your mobile, you have to take it up. I mean, you cannot not take that call. It's urgent and it's important. If you're a teacher, your school principal has called you, at a particular time. So it's urgent and it's important. If there is an exam tomorrow, you need to prepare, that's urgent and it's important. I mean, you have to put in those late hours if you're not ready, because it has become urgent and important. That is quadrant 1. So quadrant 2, it is important but not urgent. For example, you are preparing for an exam which is 30 days forward. You need not prepare for it today, but it is important, but it is not urgent. So this is the quadrant 2. So this is according to Stephen Covey, this is the best quadrant to be in. We will discuss this more. The 3rd quadrant is urgent but not important. So no, these things are like they are not important things, but they take your time. Excuse my saying it, but something like okay, let me not take that example. It will sound biased. We'll take more examples where the things are urgent, but it's not important. We'll look at the example that's in the next slide. The 4th quadrant is not important and not urgent, and this is something where we can just avoid things completely. This model is very useful only after your vision, mission, goals, and milestones have been identified. Otherwise, you cannot work on this model, because what is important and what is urgent and what is not important all flows from your mission, vision, goals, and milestones. So that is the bedrock. I have taken the example of a school teacher here to clarify the concept. Okay. So now what is the quarter 1? The quadrant 1 is a call from teacher, doing last minute rushed research, sudden call for invigilation, daily home chores, for the teacher. These are urgent and important activities. They are important and they are urgent, and you cannot avoid them. Okay. But these can be reduced if you maximize quadrant 2. Now, how does that work? The quadrant 2 is keeping up to, what can the teacher do? Keep up to date on your subject, learning latest computer skills, daily meditation, daily health routine, maintaining a to-do scheduler. So when you are into self-development activities like this, and you do, which they say a stitch in time saves 9. If you're on top of the situation, then things that will get urgent will reduce. You can plan them forward. Maybe you cannot eliminate the urgent ones, but you can reduce it because you're in control of the situation, and you're making yourself more and more efficient and becoming a better and better time manager. Your focus is increasing, your ability to delegate is increasing, your ability to you're improving as a person by being in this quadrant, and therefore your efficiency is improving, and therefore the things that become last minute crises are reducing. So which is the quadrant 1, which is actually crisis which you cannot help, you have to do it. So if you get more and more control in the quadrant 2, your quadrant 1 you can control. Now come to Q3. Q3 is something which is urgent but not important. Example, demands by friend to come for a movie tonight. Now, if your friends are calling you tonight and they are old buddies, very difficult to reduce them, very difficult to tell them no. So sometimes you have to give in to those demands. But we have to know that, these things have to be minimized. Okay, you call today, I come. Then you call me tomorrow, I have to say no. I have client calls to take, I have family to take care. So these things have to be minimized, but they will have some space. We all live in a social life and these things will be there. Shopping sales for products you do not really need. Now there is a shopping sale, 50% off. But it's products that you don't really need. So what will you do? It's urgent because it's going to end today or tomorrow, but it is not important. What are you going to do about it? What is the priority in your list? Something that we need to think about. Quadrant 4 is something that you can actually eliminate completely. Quadrant 4 is something that you can eliminate completely, which is watching web series, which does not really add any value. Addictive use of video games and social media. Repeated arguments with people on issues you do not hold any influence on. You get a very heated argument on Rahul Gandhi versus Modi, and you are giving a lot of time to that. What can you do about it? So this is the Q4, which you can eliminate completely. So this is the first model where you can prioritize, what I need to do. So the lesson here is that quadrant 2, this quadrant is something where you need to spend maximum time on. Here you will have to go, but if you spend time here, then Q1 will reduce. Please minimize urgent but not important. And please destroy not urgent, not important. So this is something very important. In the last slide, I have picked up some jewels from my spiritual master, Revered Chariji, where he had said one of the things. We'll look at the slide in itself, but it is relevant here. He said the secret of time management is not to waste time. It relates very strongly to quadrant 4. The secret of time management is not to waste time. So if we attack time like that we should not be wasting it, I think a great achievement can be, we can improve our effectiveness. I was at one of the preceptors, of the system that I follow, the Heartfulness. They are called trainers. I myself am a trainer. I went to one of the trainers' house, and every 15 minutes, his cuckoo, his wall clock used to cuckoo. At that time, it was my earlier days, and I never really understood. I never really understood why he's doing that. It's only later in life, and more recently, I realized that he's telling himself that 15 minutes of his life is gone, and he's keeping a track of time. So I don't really suggest whether that system is right or wrong, but I really understand that, that how much importance he's giving to that every 15 minutes of the life. So, this is something that we need to digest. I again take a small break here. This is again a very interesting model. If you need to ask any questions or any clarification, Himani, does this answer what you wanted to ask, or is there something still in your mind?
No, pretty much. It answers pretty much. And if you could kindly repeat the saying that you were just mentioning, the secret of something that you said. Could you please repeat that,
The secret, that is from my spiritual trainer, Revered Chariji Maharaj. He said that the secret about time management is not wasting time.
Okay.
The secret about time management is about not wasting time. If you're conscious of every 15 minutes, 5 minutes, half an hour, I don't know what works for you. And what did you do in the last half an hour? What did you do in the last 15 minutes? I think that really pumps up. And that's the example I gave about that preceptor trainer whom I went, and I was a little surprised that why 15 minutes his wall clock is cuckooing every 15 minutes. Damn irritating, but I appreciate it now. Okay.
I have a small question.
Hello. Yeah, hi there. Somebody said something.
Vishal, hi.
I was saying.
Let Himani finish. Yeah, Himani, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying once we have these four quadrants very clear in front of us on a daily basis, it will help us prevent time, because most of the times we see ourselves on either television or on WhatsApp or Facebook or things like that. And then you tend to realize and how much time has been wasted. Because once you have the to-do list and you have the four quadrants, you tend to manage your time pretty much well, and the time waste is very, very little. So this is going to be very efficient technique. And thank you so much for this one, sir.
Himani. And this quadrant you need to make once in, say, a month, or take 2 days to make it. This is not like a daily update. You should know next 30 days what are your priorities. I will suggest take that route, okay, or maybe 15 days, 30 days. And from that, your calendar will flow. And from that calendar, your to-do list, whatever comes in your to-do list, your task will go into the calendar. Your calendar will be based on your priorities, okay? Your calendar will be based on the priorities, and then the to-do list will fill up the calendar. Yes, Vivek?
Yeah. So sorry, Himani, I didn't want to overlap. I think I had a bad signal. I thought there was just a pause. So I have a small question, Vishal. Vishal, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Vivek. Go ahead.
Okay. No, there are these tasks sometimes that, even classifying these tasks in the four quadrants needs a lot of clarity of thought. But, there are sometimes tasks that, even though you consider not as important, sometimes overlap with what is the most critical task that you may be performing at that point of time. So, do you have a leeway for that? If I could give you a small example, I'm sometimes in the middle of work, and I think work clearly for a lot of us classifies as important. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But if I get a call, for example, from home, from my daughter, that says, okay, dad, cable is not working, internet connection is down. Now, is that important or is that not important? Or should I be eliminating that? Or how do you deal with that situation? Because that is something that most of us face all the time. And I think what we've done is classified everything that's related to work as important in our life. Is that a correct thing, by the way?
Okay, very interesting question, Vivek. So this four quadrant model, please, use this to make your calendar. This talks about things that you're going to focus about. For example, in Q2, you can say that I will do 45 minutes of meditation. I will do 45 minutes of exercise. I will read half an hour. I will put focus. I will put focus time on my work, 6 hours, 8 hours a day I will put on my work. I'll spend 1 hour quality time with my things and 2 hours with my friends on a week. These kind of things, will come from this quadrant because they are your priority. If you're an introvert, you don't care about friends, you'll say, okay, that's Q3 for me. But if you're a very social person, it will be Q2 for you.
Right.
So first of all, based on your profile. So again, I said vision, mission, goals, milestones. Based on what is your vision of life, what's your goals of life, so that will set the priority, that will give the background of what all is important to you. And then from that, you put this here, that what will go in Q2, what will go in Q1. This is not something which is a daily thing. This will help you make your calendar. That's the difference. See, I am integrating things, somebody has given this as the best way forward, but now I am putting my neck out and I'm saying, please integrate all these tools. Use this tool to get your priorities right. How much space should your calendar occupy for work? Okay. How much should it give for meditation? If your meditation is not in Q2, if it is in Q3 or Q4, if you think that meditation is something which is rubbish, doesn't work, then you will put it in Q4. So it will not be there in your calendar at all.
It's
so
very
it
subjective.
really depends on that.
Yeah.
So,
thanks.
So I will take your question back to the calendar. You see, if you're working, if doing some deep work, you are doing some architecture for 2 hours, your mobile is going to be off. Your mobile is going to be really slow or it's low. You will miss your call you're going to miss your, call from your kid. It's only after 2 hours when you'll take a 15 minutes break, you will say, "Arey, my kid called up," and you'll ask what happened, And probably you can set up technology that 2 numbers if for any emergency call, maybe your wife. So wife can be given a special number or something like that and says, if you call me from this number, I'll come out from hell also and take it. But use it only if it is very, very important.
Right.
or give
Right. No, most of us do that. So yeah.
maybe you have a second mobile number and you're giving it to only 5 people in this world. So if you know that there's a crisis, these people will reach me.
Makes sense.
These are,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking as I'm talking, I mean, all of us will have a method to deal with it.
Right. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Great. All right. So let's move forward. So now, no, this kind of hit me very recently. I did not look at this perspective myself, and very recently I understood this, that energy management is very key to effectiveness. Time management and energy management is very much related. Now the point is that the physical time available is limited, no? So something that is fixed, what can you manage about that? Look at it from this perspective. There's 24 hours, they cannot be 23, they cannot be 26 or 25. It's 24 hours. Now the ability to use that 24 hours really comes from the ability to balance our energies, to maximize our energies. If you're not well, if you're not energetic, if you're not fit, if you're lethargic, how much can you do? You make your calendar, you make your task list, you'll not be able to do it, no? So energy, physical energy is necessary. Now mental energy, focus, analytical abilities. If you are given a problem, somebody will solve it in 4 hours, somebody will do it in maybe half an hour. So how does that come in? So the person who you had higher mental energy saved 3.5 hours, isn't it? So we have to look at mental energy also, and analytical abilities. Focus, is so very much important. That if you have the right mental energies, you are able to create time and you're able to do much more in that. And these can be built up. No one is born perfect. Nobody is born with all these things can be acquired. And to all the people who are going to see this video, I would like to recommend here the Heartfulness Way, the Heartfulness system of meditation. I am a trainer myself. The Heartfulness Way is a beautiful combination of living a balanced life, which takes care of all aspects of life, with heartfulness meditation as its bedrock. That when you start your day with meditation and you follow certain guidelines, everything starts, coming in place. So there are other good systems in the world, but since I followed this and I experienced it, I am talking about it. Those who want to know more, below this video, I have given a link to the website, heartfulness.org. Please visit that website. And the meditation, believe me, it's free. It's free now, free forever. It's like a service to humanity. Please try it out. So coming back to our slide, emotional energy, Now, suppose you tend to fight with somebody every day, with your sister, your mother, your friend, and that carries itself into the next day. It takes you to the office and you're grumpy, or if there is somebody has given you some fear has come into you, and that is taking away your ability to be objective, or you have failed in life, maybe once or twice or 4 times, and now you are not able to come back. You're not able to bounce back because there is an energy block. There is an emotional energy block associated with that. Now, what do you do? What will you do with the timetable? What will you do with your task, and what will you do with your calendar? It will work at a very low efficiency. And imagine if you have a bright, smiling, a very objective mind, and you are able to bounce back from failures quickly. Imagine how much more you will be able to achieve, how much more you will be able to put in those calendars, So this is the emotional energy part. And, we need to clean away our blocks, our energy, our things that block us, and kind of be born fresh every day. And again, that's where heartfulness is extremely helpful. We have this cleaning technique, which kind of, just like you have your bath to clean your physical aspects, we have this cleaning technique which rejuvenates your entire system and makes you fresh and alive again. Okay. And then the fourth aspect is prana, or vital force. Now, this is something again which I must admit that I have understood the importance also very recently. This whole idea of inner composure, completeness, self-love, self-esteem. The biggest secret of people who are successful and effective in any way, whatever your definition of success is, whether let's right now even talk about money, that people who are extremely wealthy, one thing that you will find is that they will have a very cool head for crisis. Remember Dhoni? Captain Cool. More the pressure, the more composed that person becomes. I was hearing something about Michael Jordan, and his coaches used to say, or people who knew him, that the more tense that match, the more difficult that match, more that person used to become calmer, more his focus would increase, as if, they had a 1-to-1 negative correlation. More the pressure, more this man would become calm and focused. So this ability to remain composed from inside, and somehow to the next very important aspect of this point is that, many of us reject growth in life, wealth, happiness, because we think that we are not deserving. Somehow we think that that person is more deserving than me. Now that is true if you compare at body terms and mental terms, but if you consider yourself as a soul, and you consider him a soul and you a soul, him a spirit and you a spirit, then there's no difference. Why are you less deserving than him, or he is more deserving than you, or vice versa? We have to learn to love ourselves and have a very high self-esteem so that we are able to attract growth in our life, all types of growth, physical, mental, spiritual. You're not less than anyone, you're not more than anyone, but you're as good as anyone else, And I think this is something where people who are watching this video should take a pause and think what this point is all about. In so many self-development programs, this point is just not highlighted enough. There is something inside us that pushes growth back, which doesn't attract growth, because somewhere we have a very low opinion about ourselves. You may be physically weak, you may be mentally weak, but that is not your reality. Your reality is the soul, the bright soul inside you, the never-changing soul, and from which everything can be built back again. So, we have to be committed to continuous improvement, but the lack or the gap in us should not make us feel low about ourselves. So in the spiritual literature of India, they say, ekadrishti, samadrishti. What does this mean? Samadrishti. Samadrishti. How can there be samdrishti? You are rich, I am poor, you are intelligent, I am not. She is beautiful, she is not. Then where is samdrishti? Because samdrishti can never be about physical attributes or mental attributes. It can never be. Samdrishti is when you understand the flow of life, that everything is divine energy, and we are all manifestations of that. And therefore, I am not smaller than anyone, I am not bigger than anyone. And when you apply this aspect to yourself, and when you work with this consciousness, you read the books of very successful people, you get this attitude, that when they look into the mirror, when the cat sees itself in a mirror, it doesn't see a cat, it sees a tiger. The real people who have the real self-esteem, they have this. When they look into the mirror, they see a tiger. They don't see a cat, even if it is a cat, because they are seeing what is inside the cat, that a divine beauty. And and all these things, your inner composure, your inner confidence, your self-esteem, your sense of completeness, all this is a part of an expression of your vital force of prana. When you're lit from inside, when there is full vital energy from you inside, all these things are naturally there. The self-confidence, the self-esteem, the self-love, it will be there. But when you get depleted of this, as if the soul's energy has got depleted somehow, then there is a problem. Then again, welcome to the Heartfulness Way. There is something known as pranahuti or transmission, which flows from the trainer or from the spiritual guide to the aspirant. And it brings you this inner composure, completeness, self-love, self-esteem. At this stage, I would like to get Vivek in. Vivek, are you there? You recently, last 6 months, few months, you've been doing heartfulness meditation. Can you kind of talk on this subject? What I have just talked about, has that been the experience with you? No, let's have a live feedback from you. I hope you're there. Vivek, you're there?
Hi, Vishal. Sorry, my signal's been a little sketchy. Your full question didn't come through. Can you please repeat the question?
I was talking about that the transmission of the heartfulness system, pranahuti.
Right.
Helps rejuvenate a person from inside, helps him get inner composure, completeness, a lot of self-esteem, self-love. The ideas, you tend to become complete, and I'm calling this the vital force of prana, which is important for anything that you do in life. So would you agree, as a recent person who has recently joined Heartfulness and you're experiencing it, would you agree with this assessment?
Yeah, absolutely, Vishal. And I think I've just been fortunate. Also because the transmission was happening from you. I think it's after 25 years we got back in touch, and there's a certain sense of completedness and fulfillment that's come. It's tough to actually put in words, Vishal. I would request almost the panelists who have not been a part of that program, and I don't know if the other panelists here have, but really it like I would it gives you, like they say, the X factor almost. It gives you a certain edge in your performance. It makes you more focused. It's like the full moon. Yeah, there's a certain fulfillment by that comes through, I think, in your tasks, in your course, I think in all everything that you do. So but really I would request them to just go through it, the transmission with you, or and go through it if they've already not done it, and feel it themselves, really. So
Thanks, Vivek. I wanted it from the horse's mouth, and thank you so much.
Shaya, you can see I'm at a loss for words, because it's that sort of it's an experience, really, Vishal. And I don't want to spoil it by telling people too much about it. You have to feel and experience it, is all that I can tell them right now. So
thanks, Vivek. And just one correction: the transmission is not from me. We are just the electrical switch. The entire transmission is from the spiritual guide. Right now in the form of Daji, Kamlesh D. Patel, who is the spiritual guide of Heartfulness Institute. And all trainers, there are 13,000 trainers. I am just one of them. And the real source, he is the transformer, and we are just the switch. And we need to always be thankful to the transformer who's bringing it in and giving it to us in doses that we can make use of. And the real give of the transmission is somewhere the ultimate, or whatever you like to call. We don't know, some people don't believe in God, but just assume that there is a God, and the real source is there. And even the spiritual guide is but a receiver who steps down that energy into doses that we can accept and forward it to us. That's the secret. So great. This was again, I'm bringing in the heartfulness aspect because I have experienced it, and all my training sessions, everything that I talk about, will talk about it. But then there are other things in the world. There are so many other systems, and there's so many, and I respect them all. Because I don't know about them, I'm not talking about them. I'm sure there'll be beautiful things everywhere, and all of us have something to share. I am sharing what heartfulness brings in, kind of these aspects. I would love to hear, if there are other goodness campaigners who are doing something else and they would like to talk about what they are following and how that is useful. Love to hear them and learn from them, and get all the goodness on one platform. Okay, so we'll just take another 2-3 minutes, and we're just coming to the close of this. Please, do I have the group's permission to take it till 8:10? Is it okay? Please give me the liberty to take it till 8:10. Okay? So I'll just get into this. Now, this is again mind-boggling. You see, imagine if you want to go in north, and if you are going actually with a lot of efficiency and speed, you are going in the south, with all the great techniques and management techniques. Imagine what a great disservice you are doing to yourself. You are supposed to go north. That's the right thing to do, but you are going to south with great efficiency. So let's get about deciding to do right, deciding right. Now the great secret here is not which is now getting endorsed more and more scientifically. You can check up YouTube, you can check up Google, which has started talking about heart, that how heart is also a thinking instrument. That heart is, the very archaic way of thinking about the human heart is that it's a pumping station. It is a pumping station, but there are a lot of hidden secrets about the heart that we don't know. And no less than great management gurus like Adizes, the Dr. Ichak Adizes, who is one of the topmost management consultants in the world, is advocating this, that when you take a decision, you have to use your mind and your heart. Your mind is how the mind will give you various options, A, B, C, D. It will tell you how you can do. First do this, then do this. But it is your heart which will actually tell you what needs to be done. Out of the A, B, C, D, which option you should choose. Or maybe you have to reject all of them and wait for your mind to give you another option. The yes and no will come from the heart, you know. And while the mind talks to us, we are aware of the thoughts in the mind. And while the mind talks to us, the heart talks to us, signals to us through feelings. The voice of the mind is very clear, thoughts, 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 you know. But the voice of the heart is through feelings, you know. And while the mind talks to us, to the heart we have to listen. We have to ignore the mind, go deeper, and feel the heart. So we have to make an effort to reach to the heart, and the mind makes an effort to talk to us. So this is a complete, you know, mind-boggling concept, and this requires another session in itself. So this, I'm just touching this topic, and again, people who meditate, you know, will understand what this is all about. That when you're disconnected with the mind and you're in the zone of your heart, your creative zone of the heart, you know, then that feelings and the kind of genius solutions that you can get from inside is completely different. So this is the last slide. I just wanted to bring this slide in today because there are many concepts that my spiritual trainer, Revered Chariji Maharaj, my beloved Gurudev, used to talk about. The secret of time management is not wasting it. Sorry, it should be not wasting time. The secret of time management is not wasting time. We covered this. Second, he used to say, work at your highest level. Now, this is something that is very relevant in today's discussion. Suppose if you are a doctor and you spend half your time doing compounder's work, then the 4 hours is a waste. Suppose your compounder has not come in, if you do it for a week, it is okay. But as a matter of policy, instead of keeping someone to do it, you are only doing the compounding work, then you are doing disservice to the job of a doctor. So always work at your highest level and keep upskilling yourself. You know, the secret is the more skills, you can stack yourself with more skills and you keep moving in a relevant direction and you keep delegating the lower skills to people. That's how you get it done. You know, it's like you going to the bank every day, which is half an hour back, and filing 3 checks and getting money, and you're losing 2 hours in that process. You know, better to upskill, learn something, and then start earning money to hire someone part-time, full-time to do all this, so that you are able to spend time doing your highest work. This is simple advice, but profound. You will get a lot of management theories on it, you know, delegation and all that. The heart as an instrument par excellence for decision-making. We discussed this already. One great thing that Chariji Maharaj used to talk about is do the toughest things for you first. This is also from Brian Tracy's book. I think Chariji used to talk about it very early. He used to say that in the beginning of the day, do the toughest things that you don't like first and get it over with. Because with every subsequent passing of the day, your body energy is going to come down. Your mental energy is going to come down. But if the work ahead of you is very interesting, then you will do it. If you leave the toughest work for the last, keep procrastinating it and keep it for the last, then your body energy is low, mental energy is low, and the work is tough, so you will not do it. So let's get the toughest things out first, and let's get it done. I had posted in the group some videos on procrastination. Please have a look at it, guys. It's great, you know, how to avoid procrastination. Maybe I'll post it again along with this video just for a revision. Great secrets to avoid procrastination. I have tried them. It's working for me. And I hope it works out for you all too. So that's it. And end of today's session. Thank you so much. And see you again after 15 days. Hope this session was useful. Thank you so much. Any quick questions? Maybe that could be a customary end. Any quick questions? Okay, so you can call. You can put it in the group, in the interaction group, and we can take them even if you think about it later. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Vishal sir.
Thank you.